Hello, my name's Harold. I just fooling around some today and come across a couple of random things and was playing with my USB microscope, and so I thought I'd get into that and show you some stuff that I did with it. Of course, first thing we want to do is have a little joke, and this is a redneck joke. Zeke and Luke, they went down to a truck company to apply for a job. There's a team of truck drivers. Personnel manager decided they weren't too sharp, and so he interviews them separately. He interviews Zeke first, and after his 15-minute interview, Zeke just barely passes. Then he interviews Luke, and the same thing happens. Luke just barely passes. Then he said, well, he'll interview them together, and he presents them with a problem that could come up. He says, now, Zeke and Luke, let's say you two are a driving team. One of you is driving the rig, the other's asleep in the back. You got 60,000 pounds of steel on the back of your truck. All of a sudden, you're going down a steep hill. All of a sudden, your brakes go out, your speed increasing. What would be the first thing you'd do? Well, after a minute, there just wasn't no answer, and then all of a sudden, Luke spoke up and says, I know, the first thing I'd do. The personnel manager says, yes, Luke, what's the first thing you'd do? Luke says, I'd wake up Zeke, because he ain't never seen any big accident before. All right, so that was the redneck joke for the day. This past weekend, I went to the Steel Challenge, and I made a lot better score than I did the month before. I think I got the worst score the club ever had the month before. And of course, I switched to pistols because I blamed it all on the sights maybe moving around on the other one. And the one I took this time was this Smith & Wesson 22A. And if you look down it, it's empty. There's not any magazine in it. It's your classic case of empty gun. Okay, but anyway, and then today, just fooling around on the web, I looked into a guy that was reviewing one of these, and he was talking about he'd paid $250 for it, and he bought a brick of ammo for $18. And I thought, whoa! I went back and looked. That was 2011, so that was closer to what I paid for this because I got mine in 2011, believe it or not. And he was talking about how he had put a whole 500 rounds to it and he hadn't had any problems yet. Well, I've put over 11,000 through this little booger, and you say, well, how can you be so sure? Well, I bought 3 cases of 22 long rifle back in 2011 and 2012. And a case of 22 long rifle is 5,250 rounds. I know for a fact that I shot 2 whole cases in this one, practicing and going to Steel Challenge. It was the only reasonable 22 pistol I had at the time. So, and I've shot several bricks through it since then. So I'm pretty sure we've exceeded 11,000 rounds. And it's a nice little pistol. It's just got one little weakness, and that's the firing pin here. See the little booger? They crack. The very first one that I had a problem with, this little loop here, is what cracks in it. The loop had broke completely off, but it was still setting in the little plastic block that it rides back and forth in. And I had 3 jams in one magazine, and the next magazine I had 4 or 5 jams. I asked the guy there at the range, what do you think's wrong with this? He said, well, it says it looks pretty dirty. So I took it home and I tore it down and thought, well, I had never pulled the firing pin out to clean that, so I'll pull that out. And when I pulled out the firing pin, I found that little loop was broke off. So that's something I'll show you how you see the first part of the failure coming before it happens. I've replaced, I guess, 5 or 6 firing pins in this thing since I've had it. I've only let one of them break clean off. I checked them every time I cleaned it after that, and just waiting until I saw the crack start, well, I'd put in another one. And other than that, it's been a really good little pistol. It's just not as pretty as its sister, the Ruger Mark III Huntsman, But hey, sometimes reliability is better than looking sexy, Anyway, I've got a little USB shot of the firing pin that you can take a look at. because I got to do something with that USB microscope. And I got a splinter in this finger, a splinter, I say, a piece of metal, little chip, the other day when I was cleaning up out in the garage, and I could barely see it with even with my readers on and all like that. And I grabbed out the magnifying glass here, and I set it all up. It's one of those that folds out, you know, where you can. What I usually do is I set it up like that, and I put a little flashlight on it, and I can put my finger down underneath here and dig out the metal. And that wasn't helping me really any. So it was, you know, it was a small piece of metal, but it felt, you know, it felt big. So I whipped out the little USB microscope and stuck my finger under there, and that, I mean, darn, the thing looked as big as a railroad spike under there, and I still spent an hour getting that thing out. So I guess we'll go now to putting in a little bit of footage of that. Like I say, just fooling around today, and just felt like doing this, letting you see some of my microscope shots. So anyway, here we go. If you look at that little spot there where I was pointing, you can see the crack pretty clearly there in the metal. And when I find that, that's time to replace the little booger. Back up in the hole, there's a little bit of lint off of my desk, I guess. And here's the business end of this little booger. Not a little sharp point, is it? Just a little round curve there, but it does the job. It makes a nice little dent in a 22 rimfire. Okay, so here's the huge splinter in my finger. I'm splinter, the chunk of metal, and you know, I rubbed it and I dug under it and I did all kind of things. I worked on this thing for a whole hour trying to get that out of there. Kind of gruesome looking, and when you see it under the microscope, but you couldn't hardly see it at all with the naked eye. It was just a little shiny spot. And I guess being a little shiny spot is what made it so hard to get out of there. Okay, well, that'll do that, huh? There we go. You got to see all the goodies, and I got to play with the webcam here. This is the first time I recorded right into Windows Movie Maker. But that's all I got for today. I appreciate you viewing, and it'd be wonderful if you'd subscribe. You could make an old geezer happy. And click the like or dislike button so I can know whether you liked it or not.